as fate has decreed.
Jinhsi will serve your will.
What is up, guys? DBZen here. Welcome back. Today we have a Jinhsi guide. She is the latest characters added to Wuthering Waves, and holy shit, she is a DPS god. She does the most damage in game, even more than Jian, which is to be expected. She uses Jue, while Jian uses the spirit of Jue, I guess. I will be covering 5 major points to turn your Jinhsi into a god. Each point is timestamped in the description below. So even though Jinhsi is the main DPS, she's also a burst DPS, very similar to Yinlin. She puts out most of her damage in a short amount of time. There's 2 team comps for her. You could either go pure nuke, which is where you're going to get the big numbers like you saw in the thumbnail, or you can go with more sustained damage. We'll cover this more towards the end of the video in team compositions. Now let's get into her mechanics. When you read her kit, she looks very complicated, but once you have your rotations down, she's actually very easy to use. First, let's talk about her skill, which has 4 stages. If you just press her skill, Jinhsi will dash. This can be used for movement. But other than that, we won't be using it at all for her combo. To get her skill to stage 2, you want to perform your basic attack 4 times. You can cancel the animation of the last one right there where the lightning hits. When you finish with 4 basic attacks, your combo unlocks stage 2, in which is called Incarnation. I will refer to it as a transformation stage from now on. You will see Jinhsi grow horns and will begin to airwalk. While airwalking, you get 4 new basic attacks. These 4 basic attacks do resonant skill damage. She can juggle enemies and can dash, which is great for avoiding enemy hits. Once you finish the basic attacks, you unlock stage 3, which you can use to launch enemies into the air. You'll see the dragon spinning upwards. You can dash or jump cancel to go straight into stage 3 without having to do the 4 basic attacks. After you do this, you unlock stage 4, which is your big nuke. This is where most of Jinhsi's damage comes from. If you want your stage 4 nuke to hit like a Mega Evolved Gyarados using Hyper Beam, you need your Forte bar with 50 stacks. If you use it while your Forte bar is low, you will hit like a Magikarp using Splash instead. Before we get into how to build your stacks, I just want to mention, make sure you use your Jue Echo to fly up into the air. This allows you to do your airwalk combo without being interrupted since the enemies can't reach you. Now let's talk about how to get the full Forte stacks to do big pew pew damage. Jinhsi gains stacks anytime a teammate inflicts attribute damage. You can speed up how fast you gain stacks by using characters like Verena, Yinlin, Mortefi. They can coordinate attacks and you'll gain stacks twice as fast. For example, if you have Mortefi's ult or Yinlin's mark on an enemy, each time you hit that enemy with Jinhsi, you're going to see the electric damage and fusion damage from Mortefi as well, which are considered coordinated attacks since they're all doing damage while you're attacking with Jinhsi. Now if you use Jinhsi's intro, you don't have to do the 4 basic attacks. It already comes in with her stage 2 skill active. Now let's look at a rotation with no ult or intro. You want to do basic 1, 2, 3, cancel into basic 4, then activate your skill, flying basic 1, 2, 3, echo, flying basic 4, skill, which is the Gyarados Hyper Beam, and then ult if you have it, and outro. Now let's take a look at a rotation for tower, or if you have ult and intro up. Essentially, you're going to skip doing the first 4 basic attacks. You're going to intro in, activate your echo and ultimate, then press your skill. Once you're airwalking, press your skill again, then you're going to do basic 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're going to activate your last skill, which is going to be your Gyarados Hyper Beam, and you're going to outro out. Now let's move on to stats and how to get them. So as you can see, these are my stats without food. I'm at 73% crit rate and 323% crit damage. That's why she does crazy damage. If my 2 forecast echoes would have rolled a bit better, I'm pretty sure I would have done over 1 million. So Jinhsi is better with a 4-3-3-1-1 if you don't have her S6 R5. I'm currently running S6 R5, so I have 2 forecast echoes. As you can see, not the best rolls on the Jue and the Morning Ikes. So for your main stat on your forecast, you want both of them with crit damage. She already gets crit rate from her weapon as well as from the skill tree. So for the 3 cost, if you're running 4-3-3-1-1, you can run double Spectro or 1 Spectro and 1 attack percentage. The damage difference is very minimal. And for your 1 cost, you obviously want to run attack percentage. For your sub-roll priorities, you want crit rate and crit damage, followed by energy regen around 115 to 130%, followed by attack percentage, resonance skill, flat attack, and resonance liberation as the last option. Over 75% of her damage comes from her resonance skill, so heavy attack and normal attacks are not good for her. Obviously it's better than defense or HP rolls, but you still want to focus on the ones I mentioned before. Now let's go ahead and take a look at her skill tree. Here you want to focus on Forte Circuit, followed by Resonance Liberation, then Resonance Skill, Intro, and last, your basics. You want to mainly focus on the center and go all the way up. Here you'll see that she gains crit rate on the sides, a 20% spectral damage increase right here in the center, as well as another 12% attack increase once you unlock the nodes on the sides as well. Now let's take a look at her dupe system. Just keep in mind that even though it shows that I have her at S3, some of the clips in this video, I do have her at S6 as well as her weapon R5. There's no damage increase between S1 and S2, so essentially you don't want to get copies of her unless you are committed to S4 and above. For those of you asking between her S1 or her weapon, the answer is her weapon. Her S1 increases her damage by 15%, while her weapon increases her damage by 18% and can be shared with other characters. Now for her S4, when Jinhsi casts her Resonance Liberation, the other teammates gain a 20% attribute damage bonus for 20 seconds, which is nice to increase your overall damage. And finally, her S6, it increases her skill by 45%, which is massive since most of her damage comes from that anyway. So increasing it by 45% is a huge damage boost. And then the other way to increase your stats is by food, guys. Obviously, use Mori Pot for attack damage increase, and you can use the potion for spectral buff. Now let's take a look at her weapons and which are best in slot, and then we'll go over team compositions last. So clearly her best in slot weapon is her signature weapon, Age of Harvest. It increases her damage a ridiculous amount. It does about 18% more damage than Burden Summit, which is the second best option, followed by Lustrous Razor. The difference between Verdant Summon and Lustrous Razor is only about a 1% damage difference, so it doesn't really matter which one you use there. But I would highly recommend getting her signature weapon, guys. It's 18% is just way too big of a difference. So if you can swing that, I highly recommend it. And for 4 stars, Broad Blade and Helios Cleaver do about the same damage as well. And then the last option is going to be Autumn Trace, which is a season pass. It does the least damage, but it's a little bit easier to build around just because it provides crit. Now let's go over team comps, which is probably one of the most important topics on how to get insane damage with your Jinhsi. There's basically 2 types of teams that you run with her. One's going to be more Teffy and Yin Lin or Yuan Wu, who provide a lot of coordinated attacks, making sure that every time you switch into Jinhsi, her stacks are at full. This provides a lot of sustained damage. Out of all 3 of those options, I believe Yin Lin is the best just because she does so much damage herself. The second option is to run a NUKE team. This is going to be with Tao-Ki or Jian. Tao-Ki is the one that allows Jinhsi to do over 1 million damage in one-shot bosses with certain prep time. You can see people cheesing it where they attack one boss, switch over, and then one-shot the boss with Jinhsi. I believe this type of team will fall off once they add bosses with more HP, and you can't one-shot them or get them close to it. Once you do this one giant nuke with your Jinhsi, you can't really build up your stacks because Tao-Ki doesn't really help with that. Now the second NUKE team is running Jinhsi with Jian. This is my personal favorite team, and it's a team that you don't see a lot of content creators talking about. So essentially, we all know that Jian has a massive nuke when he ults. I come in, intro with Jinhsi, she's gonna do her massive nuke as you saw earlier. Then Jian comes in, does his massive nuke. At this point the boss is almost dead. Jian keeps his ult up and keeps attacking, lowering it down, and once you switch back to Jinhsi, she's gonna have her full stacks again. Normally the boss is dead by then, but once they do add more bosses with more health, this duo will do even better just because they can both nuke and provide sustained damage, unlike the Tao-Ki team that can only do 1 big damage hit and then she's kind of useless. And it's better than the other 2 just because of the amount of damage Jian does as well as his nuke. This team also works with both of them at S0, and who also doesn't want to play with Rayquaza and Gyarados on the same team. This team also only works with Verena as a support. Anybody else, the rotations feel kind of clunky, and I would say it's not worth it. Please comment below if you have any questions. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.